We're going to be going over. Thank you. We are going to be going over the digital W-2 solution that the SSDT has come up with. This is something new. For 2025, Meta fiscal team has made the decision, and just to make sure that it goes smoothly, that if you are currently using the ESS software, then you will be able to do digital delivery of W-2s this year. Starting in 2026, then anybody that is currently not using ESS, if you would like to use ESS to get your W-2s submitted digitally to your employees, then we will start spinning up those new instances. Now, the ESS system is basically just an HR type system. It's going to have a lot of different functionalities added to it. Right now, you can use it just to view or have your employees look at their pay slips and W-2s online. And that's the basis of it. It's very, very, what I want to say, easy to use if that's all you want to use it for. It's kind of like an HR system. It can get more robust. You can use it to do your attendance and absence reporting. You can also use it with a third-party vendor, like Frontline and ASOP. To actually have them do your sub calling and get your subs called, and then the absences will flow down through the payroll system through there. So there's different ways that you can use the ESS system, but for right now, the digital delivery of the W-2s is going to be for those districts that are currently using ESS. Okay. On our website, once this training session has been finished, we will put it out on the website. If we go to member services and fiscal services, links and documents, down here at the bottom, they will have, I'm sure it's probably going to go under the USPS section here. The recording will go here. There's one other thing that I want to bring to your attention that we've recently updated on our website. And this is the link for upcoming events. And it's very a good place to see what kind of trainings that we are doing and have coming up. Over here, the scheduled events basically will show you what we have currently scheduled. Save the dates for fiscal year-end meeting, calendar year-end meetings, and those different ones. And then our reoccurring events, of course, are roundtables that are the second Tuesday of every month. But we will update this as we get different trainings scheduled at the time. Okay, so what we're going to go over today is the actual setup of the digital W-2s. As far as the district office goes, you'll notice that this is going to be very, very easy for you to get it set up. The time that's what's going to take you the most time is getting your employees to log into the ESS system and say, I want my W-2s to be sent electronically instead of printing. Okay, so that's going to be what's going to take you the most time to do. There is a checklist that I'm going to be going over. This checklist can be found on the SSDT's wiki. And then if we go to USPS documentation, and then if I scroll down to the appendix in the USPS documentation, there's a link here for checklist. So we're going to go to the checklist, and then the W-2 delivery digital delivery checklist is here on the bottom. So this is what we're going to be going over today. And again, this is only for those districts that are currently using the ESS system. Okay. All right. So basically, there's just a couple steps that you have to do in the payroll side. I'm going to go over the payroll setup first. And then we'll flip over to the ESS side, and there's a couple things that you'll need to go over with that as well. There is some rules that the IRS says that you need to follow. And again, this is affecting the employee and what they want to do. And according to the IRS, the employees have to opt out or opt into receiving the W-2s digitally. They need to sign a consent form. We're going to talk a little bit about that later as far as going into the ESS system. You'll see this consent form in the ESS system. However, if you want to read or go over the IRS rules for requirements for sending your W-2s electronically, there's a link here that you can click on. It'll bring up publication 15A, and on page 3 at the bottom of the page, here's the furnishing form W-2 to employees electronically. So this basically says what the IRS is saying, what they want to rule out, have the rules. You can read through that if you want to. But basically it's just saying that they have to sign a consent form to say that they want the W-2s to be delivered electronically. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the checklist in step number 1 in USPS. We're going to go over and say here, we're going to go into the system configuration, W-2 configuration. Okay, so if I go to our demo site, and I'm going to go to system and configuration, and then I'm going to scroll down here to this W-2 configuration. If I edit this, and you have to have group manager, system manager, something like that to be able to see this and make changes to this. Right here at the very top, enable W-2 digital delivery. Okay, it'll be unchecked when you go into it for the first time. When you want to enable this, then you can go ahead and check this. Now this sets it up for certain things in payroll to be able to be seen. It doesn't have anything to do with the employee side in ESS at this time. So you can go ahead and enable this and say save, and it's not going to do anything other than the few things that we're going to go over here and show you basically then what's going to happen when that flag is checked in the employee side or payroll side, excuse me. So on the employee record, there's going to be a new section that's called W-2 delivery. So if I go over here to core and employee, I'm going to resort these here. And then I'm going to bring up on my first employee here, Catherine. If I edit this employee and if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, sorry for that, you'll notice that there's a W-2 delivery. Now, even though I'm in the editing mode, I cannot make any changes to these. This is all going to be updated automatically once the employee signs that consent form in the ESS system. If that check mark is not checked in the system configuration, this part at the bottom will not even show on the employee record. Okay. So again, these are things that are going to show up once you mark that in the payroll system, and they will be updated automatically from the ESS system. Okay. A couple of other things that you're going to notice is on the grid. Okay. I've already updated this, but if we go to more and then scroll down to the bottom here, if these were open, the W-2 digital delivery, down here at the bottom, I've clicked on W-2 only and W-2 agreement timestamp. Normally those two would be not on, but if you want to see those on your employee grid, you can go ahead and check those. And this is helpful for once you get started in your employees and basically you want to see who has actually gone into the ESS system and signed the consent form. You can see that here. It'll have a date timestamp, and if they've signed that, it'll be true. Okay. The other thing that you're going to see when you run the W-2 reports, report and submissions, once that flag is set to yes, one of the things you can sort by then is digital only W-2s. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But this option only shows up if that check mark is checked in the system configuration. Okay. The other thing that you'll see different is on the W-2s themselves. I'm going to pull up here. This one here, I ran this W-2 report after I set those flags to yes. And then you're going to notice that at the bottom, we have different counts now. Okay. There's a count for W-2 digital forms, and there's a count for how many W-2s are going to be printed. Prior to this, these counts were all wonky. They won't actually be correct. They weren't correct at the actual number of W-2s because the W-2s were by employee. So it didn't take in consideration some of those employees that may have had a W-2 then for multiple city taxes or multiple OSDI taxes. If they've received multiple W-2s, these counts were off a little bit. Okay, so now these counts are actually going to be accurate. Your total number of employees, your total number of W-2 forms, the W-2s that are going to be printed and the W-2s that are digital forms, then we'll show these two should add up to the total number of W-2 forms. Okay. Also, one thing that's going to be different on your W-2 report is right here. If that flag is set, it's going to tell you if that's a digital only or if it's going to be printed. Okay. So you'll have those on the W-2 report themselves also. Okay. If the box is not checked, then these totals at the bottom will just be how many W-2s are printed and how many total employees you have. So it's not going to show you anything with W-2s. If I go back to and show the employee himself, that question is that says, if it's that part that says W-2 digital is not going to be on this report. Okay. All right. So that basically is all you need to do in payroll to get this set up. So I said it's just one little flag that you need to go in and mark, and then your setup for USPS is finished. Okay. I haven't been checking the chat. Let's see if we got anything to. Okay, I think our team has been keeping up with those. Okay, so now let's go over into the ESS system. The ESS system then is where you need to set up a couple things. Somebody that has to have group manager access, or the district admin would need to be able to check this. So in the checklist then in ESS, we have to go into the system configuration and check it. And there's another check mark then that we'll need to do. So I'm going to log in with myself here first. Because I have the admin process or privileges. Let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to the system. And then we're going to go into the configuration. One thing that I do want to make sure for you to do is check this ESS functionality configuration first. You need to have the W-2 statements and wages and state tax statements available to your employees at this current time. If you don't allow them to look at their W-2s now, then you won't be able to allow them to opt in to get them digitally. So I'm sure that you're probably allowing them to see pay slips and W-2 tax statements at this time, but that's one thing that needs to be set as well. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom here, W-2 configuration. And again, this is the one check mark that you'll need to do to allow for your W-2s to be opted in by your employees. Now, this information here is a default statement that the employee will see once they go in to select that they want to opt into getting their W-2s electronically. You can change this. This is just a text box, and we can go in here and change it any way we want. But this is the default from the SSDT. And it basically says that they are not going to receive a paper copy anymore, that they're consenting to receive your W-2 electronically. You'll be notified by email when it's available. You can access your W-2 securely through the ESS system. You may withdraw your consent at any time within the portal, within the ESS system. And I'll show you what's going to happen if they say that yes, they want to, but then they change their mind and next year they don't want to, then they can go in and change that if they want. The consent remains in effect for all future tax years until it's revoked. So they only need to go in and do this once. And then it also says here what they need to be able to see the W-2. They need to have an internet access, supported web browser, PDF reader, and etc. Okay. You go in here and mess with this and you change it, and then you say, oh, I really don't like what I've done here. I want to change it back to be whatever the default is. You can reset this to the default. Once we click on this and click on save, then the ESS system is available to your employees to opt into receiving these. Okay. So what's going to happen then on the employee side? And I'm going to go ahead and log out here. And then I'm going to log in as a regular employee. Oops. Okay. So then as an employee, to find out where they need to go is they have to click down here on their name, and this is going to bring up their profile. In the profile is where they need to go to click on the acknowledgement that they want to receive digital copies. Okay, this box right here, W-2 acknowledgement, will only show on their profile if that box in the configuration is checked. All right, so if we're going to go ahead and click on the W-2 acknowledgement, again, this is what was in that default area in the configuration that will show to them and give them information. And then if we want to opt in, we can sign this. We can put in today's date and then whatever this decision is. So we're going to consent to receiving digital copies. Once we select a decision, then we can go ahead and submit it. Okay, operation has been successful. If I want to print the acknowledgement then as this employee and keep it with my papers or whatever, I can go ahead and download this and say that I have consented to this, and I can print this and keep it for future information. Okay. Okay, so that basically is all the employee needs to do. Once they do that, then they have opted to receive digital copies of the W-2s. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to go back to this checklist, and basically that's all the steps that we've done. So at this point, you're basically set up and you're ready to use the digital delivery of the W-2s. The SSDT has come up with a couple of frequently asked questions section on the checklist. They're trying to put things out here that they feel might be questions from districts and employees, and kind of get them answered before before you actually hit those questions. Okay. All right. So when an employee signs the W-2 acknowledgement consent form, what are they consenting to? So basically it is that default again. And again, you can change it to say anything that you want there too. Okay. Question number 2, does the supervisor or district office receive an email notification that the employee consented to the W-2? Not at this time. However, when I said having those grids, those 2 fields added to the grids and payroll might be come into handy. If I go back to my employee grid, and because I put these digital only copies here, if I say true now, Rocky should be on here as well. So Rocky, it says true, and this is the date and time stamp that he signed the form. So this is going to be a way for you to see who has signed the form and who has not signed the form. You can also do that in ESS. I am going to go ahead and sign out here and then sign back in as an admin. I'm going to try and sign in as an admin. Okay. So if we go to second here, I want to make sure I get this right. Okay. District W-2 acknowledgement. This is going to be a grid here that's going to show all your employees that have signed or checked that they want to be. Now, this is test data. I only added a few employees into the ESS, but this should show you all your employees, whether it's true or false. Okay, so then you can filter by true and just show the employees that have signed it. And again, we can get rid of this filter, but you should see all your employees that have an account in ESS on this grid at this time. Once you set that flag to yes, this digital acknowledgement option will be here. And then you will be able to see all your employees that have signed it. So there's 2 different places that basically show you the same thing. And like I mentioned before, as soon as that employee signs it, we don't have to wait for any kind of refresh. We don't have to wait till the next day or anything for the ESS and the payroll system to talk to each other. It's basically going to be immediate. So as soon as they sign that form, and as soon as they click on submit, then this is going to be updated with the correct information. Okay. Question number 3, should our district establish a cutoff date for the employee's consent digital delivery? It is very strongly recommended by the SSDT to do this, because you don't want to be processing W-2s at that time and having people going into the system and actually saying yes or no if I want electronic W-2s as you're actually running your W-2 process and your calendar year-end process. So you should do a cutoff date. Okay. Once you have that cutoff date, then what you can do is go into go back into a system manager account, go into the system and configurations here. And then I'm going to go back into the W-2 configuration and uncheck this box. Okay. If I uncheck this box, then they are not going to see that acknowledgement anymore. So they will not be able to opt in or out. Those employees that have already opted in will be there. Okay, that's not going to change. Once they opt in, it's fine. What this will do will take away the ability for them to make those changes. So like maybe in November and December, you don't want anybody making any more changes. So you can take that away. Then come January 1, we can come back in here and then we can allow them to sign up for W-2s digitally again. You can send out a mass email to your employees and say, hey, it's available again for 2026. Anybody that wants to sign up for it can at this point. Okay, so that is basically what the SSDT is suggesting to do as well. Okay. Number 4 here. When an employee consents to receiving their W-2s digitally, what changes occur with the W-2 processing? Okay, we kind of went over this a little bit before with the W-2s, with your processing. And basically, when viewing the W-2 information, your digital only copies is going to say yes. And then you have these different counts that are there. One of the things that is going to happen then when you run the W-2 forms file, anybody that is receiving a digital W-2 will not be included in that form file. Okay, and then they're going to be sorted on the basis of how you selected when you run it. The employees will be included in the report. And I wanted to bring to your attention what's going to happen on the report and how they're going to look on the report. Okay, so if we go up here to the top of this report, and I sorted these by employee name. Okay, so what's going to happen with these sorts, you know, the W-2 report is always sorted with non-Medicare, and full FICA at the top, and then Medicare employees next. So that's not going to change. And then within that, it's going to have all your employees with no to digital W-2s at the next is the next sort. And then it's going to say yes to those at the end. Okay, so your sorts are still going to be Medicare, non-Medicare first, and then digital or non-digital second, and then by employee name on the report itself. Okay, now if we go back and we can actually take a look at this report down here at the bottom too. I think they were at the top. I think I saw them at the top. Sorry for the scrolling here. I'm trying to find an employee. I had it on the screen. I should have stayed there. Here we go. So Medicare qualified employees, then there's a yes here for this person, and then their W-2 information. So they still would be on the report. It's just that they will not be on the actual file for the printing of the forms. Okay. In ESS, when the W-2 archive individual forms is processed in payroll and the file is going to be produced, then that is going to be when they're going to be available in the ESS system. Let me check my notes here. Okay. So I am going to actually bring up from our website. I should have kept it there. In our calendar year-end instructions, for payroll, in the addendum, and we added this to the addendum, last year as a step, and it's not required. However, W-2 archive individual forms required for ESS, and we highly recommended it for all districts. Last year, you did not have to do this step, but we recommended that you did. That way your employees will see those W-2s in the ESS system. If you have set this up that you want your employees to be digitally, see the digital W-2s, you have to do this step. Okay, so I'm going to go down here to page 14. Sorry for the scrolling here. Okay. So this step here, the W-2 archive of the forms, again, this is a step that you will have to include in your year-end process from the addendum. It's basically after you've printed your W-2s and after your files have been submitted, then you'll want to go in and follow this step in the addendum to get the W-2s into the ESS system. And I can't show you any of this because then these files, we don't have any. But once you see, if you go to utilities and file archive and then go to W-2 archive, you should see all your years of W-2s here. Once 2025 is here, it's an immediate that they will be available in the ESS system. Once they are listed here in payroll, then it will be in the ESS system for your employees to see them. Okay. Okay, how does the W-2 report sort, W-2 sort when the digital 2 only option is selected? Okay, again, as W-2 reports have in the past, the report will list non-Medicare and non-FICA people first and employees and Medicare employees separately. Then the sorting will be within this group. Okay, the digital only W-2 sort option is based upon the yes or no on the employee record. Employees with the employees unmarked, meaning the employee would receive a printed copy, will be listed first, followed by the employee's digital only. Secondary sort is the employee name. So all employees with digital only 2 value marked will be sorted alphabetically as a group within each of the 2 specific groups. Okay. So you can get a digital only if you wanted to sort, and those will be together. Okay. The mailable forms, digital only, W-2 option is irrelevant. Okay. So if you go to, you're going to see that it's still an option available. If I go in here to the reports to the W-2 and do the mailable forms, that sort is still here, but it's not really relevant because if they have a digital only, they're not going to get a printed forms. And this option here is to print the W-2 forms themselves. So that doesn't make sense to have this option here. The SSDT is thinking about removing it from some of these options here because it's irrelevant if you're printing the other forms. Okay. All right, is there a way to notify employees when the digital W-2s are available to view in the ESS system? Yes, there is. Okay. This is a new option that was just recently added. The district manager role can send a mass email. If we go to the configuration, there is in this, and again, it has to have a district manager role to be able to see this, but there's a W-2 mass email. If I click on this, If you click on this now, if you've been following along or doing anything, if you've clicked on this, so this box will be blank. It's just a text box. I took this from the ESS manual that was updated recently by the SSDT and just copied and pasted in. Okay. Again, this is just a template. So you can tell it, your W-2s are ready now in the system. You can tell them how to access the W-2s, click on the print W-2s, note the IRS notification link at the top right-hand corner of the grid to do the PDF version of the IRS employee notice and all that kind of information. Like I said, this is just taken from the SSDT's website. Under the ESS manual, under the W-2 mass emails. So once I've typed in my information, I can save the email and it says it's going to be saved. There is not an edit button. It's automatically always edited or always in the edit option once you come in here. So you just start typing. It's a text box. When you're ready to send out your notice to your employees, you can then send the email. And this will go to all the emails and anybody that has an account in ESS. Okay. All right, so I am going to show you then, if I go back to the wiki here, and I'm going into the ESS documentation. And then I'm going to go to system. Okay, where is it? Right here. I click on system here, the W-2 mass email. And this is where I kind of copied and pasted the information. Okay, so this is where you can get the information if you want to use that or use whatever you want to send in your mass email. Okay. Step number 8 then, or question number 8, is basically what happens if an employee then decides that they do not want to get a digital copy anymore. Okay, so they've already received a digital copy and they don't want a digital copy anymore. So I'm going to go back to my copy here. All right, I'm logged in as myself here, so I'm going to sign out and log in back in as Rocky. And then I go to my profile and I click on the W-2 acknowledgement. And then I just change the decision that I'm revoking it. It's going to put today's date in there again, and I'm going to submit it. Okay, so now they will get a printed copy and not a digital copy. Now, if I go back to my payroll system and I look at the employee records, one of the things that you're going to see, let's just do Rocky here. Okay, you're going to see Rocky down here is false now to not getting W-2 information. However, the timestamp is the newest one. So if they've revoked their access of getting the W-2 for digitally sending it, then you will see a different timestamp here. It's going to be later than the one it was when they said for true. But this flag is now going to say false. So they will not get a W-2 at that point, and they will get one printed. Okay. Number 9, what happens if an employee elects to receive their W-2 digitally, but then resigns before the end of the calendar year? What's going to happen? If they have an email in the ESS system that's a district email, then that might be an issue because they're not going to have that email if they've resigned. You've probably revoked their access to their email. So it's the recommendation for the SSDT, and I think it would probably be something in your employee exit checklist. If you have somebody that's leaving, put in that checklist, verify if they have received a digital copy. Or if you're in the payroll system or doing payroll and you've got a payoff, or you have stopped somebody from receiving W-2s, check to see if they have a check and go back here to the employee grid and see if they have checked that they're getting a digital W-2. If they are, hopefully at that point you can still send them an email and tell them to change that they will get a paper copy. Or another thing you can do is have a system administrator go log into ESS, change their password, and uncheck that box. I'm not sure if that's something that you want to do. It's an option that you can do to change it, but if you're allowing your employees still into the ESS to get W-2s and pay slips and things like that, then you can go ahead and you can change their password and change that flag for them. Okay. Okay. The last one here, can a W-2C be created and delivered digitally? At this time, no. W-2C forms are created and printed and distributed to the employee. They can view their W-2Cs in ESS under the view and print W-2, but they cannot print one from the ESS system at this time. And it also depends on how you do that W-2C. If you do the W-2C through the state software system, then it will show on the W-2 itself. I mean, it will show on the ESS system. If you do a W-2C through the IRS system, then it's not going to show. Okay, so depending on where you're doing those W-2Cs is where it's going to show and where it's not going to show. A couple of the other things that I wanted to mention, and I'm not quite sure if the where it is on the SSDT's radar at this point. I thought I had that opened. I must have closed it. Okay. Here it is. So I am going to go back to the W-2 addendum. I just closed it out. One of the things that you may do at this point is creating the W-2 employer copies and submit them for your file archive. Okay. At this time, right now, the employer copies will only give you those that are printed. So any employee that you have that is receiving a digital copy of the W-2 will not be included in that employer file that you created. So at this time, if we go, I'm not going to be able to show this, but at this time, if you would need to go back, and let's say you printed your employer copies and you have them copies of those, and somebody comes in and they received a digital copy and you want to see the employer part of it, the only way that you're going to be able to do that is go up there under your file archive and click on that year that you're looking at, find the employee and open it up through here and print it off. But the employer copy of themselves, like I said, is not going to be in that file. If they received a W-2 digitally, it is not going to be in that file. SSDT is still working on an override to allow digital copies to be included in the employer file, but at this time they don't have anything right now. Okay, so that basically is some of the questions that they've come up with that they think that you might help you when you get this set up. And again, very easy. You basically go in and set 2 check marks and then you're done. Except for the default information that is going to be sent to the employee. So do we have any questions? Anybody have a question? If they want to unmute their mics and ask a question, or I see there's quite a few questions in chat. I'm assuming that our team has gotten them all.
Sharon,
Yes.
I believe the last question is the only one that hasn't been addressed. And this is a district who's always told their employees they're required to get their W-2s online. They did this through the kiosk and now the ESS. So the question is, are we required to send out the digital acknowledgement by law? I'm now reading the IRS regulations and have many questions regarding our practice. So if I may just jump in here, I would add the steps in the process that we just reviewed is what the SSDT is recommending for our districts in order to keep everybody in compliance as far as the IRS and whatnot. I can't really speak to the results of your previous practices. I just know that moving forward, the system is designed to have everybody make that selection. Does that help answer the question? You're very welcome. Thank you for that, Sharon.
Thank you.
Sharon, another thought on this, because I had a private chat from someone. If they are exiting, circling back to capturing those W-2s, along with your suggestions for exiting, you could always inform the employee, please log in and gather your past W-2s. Go ahead and print them off now and save them because you may not have access later. Could be another alternative as well.
Correct. Thank you. Okay, so the last question that just came in, is there a document that already exists that you can share that can be sent to our employees, showing them each step they need to do to consent to receive their electronically? Other than this checklist, there isn't anything. So basically, from here on this checklist, these 3 steps, 4 steps, I can't count. These 4 steps are what you need to do to send to your employees. You can copy and paste them into an email to send to them. But it's pretty straightforward that they, in the user profile, they click on the W-2 acknowledgement. It tells them where the profile is in the left-hand corner of the screen. So that would probably be the best thing that you can use to do that from this checklist. You're very welcome. Anything further anybody has? When you're getting ready, just one last thing here, when you're getting ready to send this out, please remember in keeping your mind about a cutoff date. You want to make sure that you give your employees a cutoff date to say that they have to have these marked. You have to have this election by a certain date. If they don't, you just go ahead and turn it off and say, well, you're going to get a printed copy this year. Next year, you can get a digital, because we needed to get it turned off because we're going to start doing our year-end processing. Is there a way to mass add employees to ESS that might not currently be a user? I do not think so, because they have to register from the homepage and set up an email address for them. I don't think if anybody in my team knows of a different way that they can go ahead and mass load. I know we loaded employees at the very beginning when we converted over, but I don't think there's a way to mass load employees into the ESS system at this time. What do you recommend as a cutoff date? I would say probably no later than December 1st, for sure. Because even though you're not going to be starting your W-2 processing until the end of the year, you might not want to have people going in. You might want to start looking ahead of time and seeing things like what are they doing, or how many people I have that are not going to be doing W-2s and this and that and things like that. So I would say December 1st for sure. But again, that's up to your district.
Sharon, may I
Yes.
interject with one other comment?
Yes.
So I see a lot of really great questions. And what I would say to most of them, especially the step-by-step logistics, the cutoff dates, I mean, these are all important pieces to the whole changeover. So obviously we understand that. But this informational session was just meant to give you an idea of where we're at with W-2 delivery and what's going to be needed on the district's behalf to get things up and running. So what I would say for our current ESS districts is, if your Meta staff has not already reached out to you and you're a current ESS district, please go ahead and touch base with them through Redesign Help in putting together your process for your districts. Timeline, cutoff date, great questions. And that's where you're going to want to really work with your fiscal support staff to see what's comfortable for everyone. In my opinion, getting this wrapped up, the sooner the better, because the last thing we want is for this to fall into the calendar year and actual processing time. So we want to make sure we have enough time to get everything set up and working perfectly.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay. Any other questions? These are all great questions. Yes, Jen put in the chat that our October roundtable is going to go over this same thing over again. So we're going to review this again during the roundtables as well. Okay, well, I hope everybody has a great day. Again, if you need any information, this will be posted out on our websites, the recording to this, once it's converted over, if there are any problems. And you can sit through this again or go through this again in October at the roundtables if you wanted to. And you can always send an email to Redesign Help, and we will get you help you get set up and any information that you might have, any questions that you might have. Have a great day, everybody.